The Kill la Kill If launch is approaching rapidly, and with each passing day we're seeing more and more gameplay out there. But how does this game work? What are the fighting systems in place? How do you trigger this rock, paper, scissors thing, and is it even worth doing? Well, today we're gonna break down the very basics of Kill la Kill If. We'll start with the basic buttons, and as we move on, we'll explain how all of these systems function, so when you finally get your hands in the game, you'll be ahead of the curve. Welcome to our Kill la Kill If mechanics breakdown. First things first, I want to thank Afro Senju for sending me over this footage that you see on the background. Afro was invited by Arc System Works to play the game early, and as the good guy he is, he sent me nearly 20 minutes of gameplay so I could show you guys how this game is played with brand new exclusive footage. So most of the footage I'm gonna use is actually thanks to Afro sending me this over. Afro Senju is currently on a quest to hit 1 million subs until the end of the year, so go ahead and subscribe to Afro. Let's make this dream a reality. Alright, looking at your controller, the first thing you're gonna do is take your left and right triggers and throw them right in the garbage. These buttons are not used in the game at all, so you can just, rip them off your controller. Then we have the left thumbstick and the D-pad. Both of these will do exactly the same. It's a 3D game, so most players will prefer to move around with the thumbstick, but the D-pad is not going to be used for anything special. It doesn't have any other function, so if you are a stick player, you can also rip your D-pad out and throw it in the garbage. Your right bumper is your block button. If you hold it, you'll block incoming enemy attacks. There is no chip damage in this game, so as long as you're holding block, you'll be fully protected. Block is not directional. Your character is always facing the opponent if you hold down the block button, and the only real way to get around it is by using a guard break, which we'll talk about later in this video. By flicking the left thumbstick while holding down the block button, your character will perform a dodge. Dodges are character specific. Some will sidestep your opponent, others will straight up teleport. It all depends on which character you choose. Sidestepping is good to get around projectiles, players mashing, well, those are aforementioned guard breaks. So far, so good. Moving on to the face buttons. First, we have the jump button. The jump button has you doing a little hop. That's not a lot of height, at least not on most characters, and it's mainly used to dodge ranged attacks. But if you hit the jump button again while you're in the air, you have a homing dash. Your character will fly straight at your opponent, and then if you hit the attack button, you'll start doing an aerial combo. Now, there are moves that will counter this. It may seem like an overpowered ability, something that just lets you close in the distance and start doing damage, but there are actually several counters to this. The homing dash doesn't have priority over most projectiles, so it's not something that you can just throw randomly, even if it is that fast. And there are some attacks that counter this directly. There are anti-airs that will punish you for using this recklessly, so in a way, it is similar to the super dash in Dragon Ball FighterZ. It is a powerful tool, but easy to counter if you see it coming. That said, you can cancel out of the dash at any point to bait those anti-airs or simply trick your opponent. Next, let's talk about the attack button. This is your melee attack button, and if you press it repeatedly, you'll do some follow-up strikes. Combos in Kill la Kill happen mostly automatically by mashing the attack button, and this is one of the aspects that makes it very beginner-friendly. That said, you won't necessarily be throwing the same attack over and over. Mashing the attack button is one combo, but by tilting the left joystick in different directions, you will get different combos. For instance, up and the attack button is your anti-air move, but if you keep pressing the attack button afterwards, the combo is different. Some of these combos do more damage, others build more meter, or just have different properties in general. For example, holding left or right on the stick usually has your character sidestepping before starting the combo, and that usually will catch opponents who are trying to sidestep you. Furthermore, holding the attack button will also unleash a stronger attack. So ideally, you will have a combo for each situation, and a lot of the attacking plan will rely on this. Even if the combos are not hard to execute, can you choose the best combo for each situation? Because that will separate the good players from the button mashers. Every character will have ranged attacks, but some will be better than others. Some can even throw ranged combos. And once again, tilting the left thumbstick throws different types of projectiles. And you can also hold the ranged attack button for a stronger attack. Ranged attacks are very character specific, so they will be very different depending on the character that you choose to main. Finally, to wrap up the face buttons, we've got the guard break. There are no grabs in this game. How you get around an enemy's guard is by using the guard break button. These attacks are usually slower, harder to include in actual combos, but it's very possible to include them in block strings. And if you manage to guard break your opponent, you can then press the attack button to continue your combo. There's a little spark that shows around the character executing a guard break, along with a little sound. That's the cue for your enemy to stop blocking and sidestep you. These attacks are still pretty fast, but a good player will be able to react to them. Next, we're gonna move on to the left bumper, and this is your button button for supers. Once you have at least 2 bars of meter, you can hold the left bumper and press either the attack, ranged, or guard break buttons to execute a super. So far, all the supers shown cost 2 bars of meter, so I'm gonna assume that's universal for now. You can execute your supers raw or cancel them into a super from a combo, and they all behave differently. The attack button super is usually a melee range type super that's very easy to put at the end of combos. The ranged attack super is a bit slower, it will be a bit more situational, but it still comes out pretty fast. And then the guard break super is usually very slow. It cannot be blocked as you would expect, but it's also not easy to follow up with anything afterwards. So it's the super that cannot be comboed into or out of. Then we have perhaps the most unique mechanic in Kill la Kill If, which is Bloody Valor, activated by pressing the left and right bumpers simultaneously. You can do this at any time during the battle as long as you have 2 bars of meter. Those bars will be spent and your character will do this power burst. And this power burst has different effects depending on how you activated it. If the enemy has you in a combo, you can use this to break their combo. At the cost of 2 bars of meter, you will break the enemy combo getting out of it completely and deal a little chip damage, but nothing impressive. After that, you both return to neutral and the fight continues. But if you use this in neutral or if you combo into it, then what happens is something else entirely. This rock, paper, scissors game will start, and we're gonna spend some time talking about this because many outcomes can happen from here. But once again, this will only trigger if you use Bloody Valor in neutral or during a combo. If you use it to break an enemy's combo, you won't get any of this. So think carefully before using it to break an enemy combo. Using it in neutral can also be dangerous because this can simply be blocked. And at that point, you've wasted 2 bars of meter for nothing. If you want the rock, paper, scissors minigame and its benefits, your safest bet is to put this in a combo. So, you put this in a combo, what happens next? Well, we have this rock, paper, scissors minigame. You press one button and the opponent presses another. The player who activated this can choose from different benefits. They can either deal damage to the opponent, recover their special meter, or recover their health, while the defending player can only deal damage if they win. So the goal of the defending player here is to read what the opponent needs the most, and to try to counter that. But of course, the attacking players also know that they're being read. From here, 3 things can happen. The attacker can win, both players can tie, or the attacker can lose. Let's see what happens in each scenario. If the attacker loses, that means the defender guessed what the attacker's button was and correctly countered it. So the attacker will now take damage and the fight will resume. Nothing else will happen. If both players tie, the attacker will actually get the buff for the button they pressed. So if they pressed for health, they'll get health. If they pressed for special meter, they'll get meter. If they press for damage, the defender will take damage. And on top of that, they will also receive a buff for the rest of the fight, represented by a little star next to their portrait. These buffs go from increased melee attack damage to increased super damage, and they last for the rest of the fight. So it can be really beneficial to the attacker if they get this permanent buff. Finally, if the attacker player wins the rock, paper, scissors, then not only do they get the effects of the button and the effects for winning the event, they also trigger another rock, paper, scissors immediately after, giving them another chance to get a second buff. The attacking player is always at an advantage because they get something out of this, whether they win this clash or tie it. The defending player always needs to win in order to prevent their opponent from getting a permanent buff, which is why this ability is that much more valuable when used in a combo. Now granted, breaking an enemy's combo can save your life, and in that situation, it should definitely be used. But if you can't take the damage, then maybe you should be saving that meter for something better. As the attacker, if you win or tie this rock, paper, scissors clash twice, you will get 2 stars next to your portrait, which represent the 2 permanent buffs. But if you win or tie these clashes 3 times, then you will get 3 stars, and the buff is much greater. Not only do you now have 3 permanent buffs, your special meter is now regenerating automatically, and you get access to an all-new attack, your character's ultimate special attack, ultimate super, whatever you want to call it, and this is going to be very different depending on which character you pick. And the only way to get access to this is to win the rock, paper, scissors or tie it 3 times during a match. And that's pretty much what the buttons do. Hopefully now you have a better idea of how this game is played, even if you haven't touched it yourself. There are a few other systems that we could talk about. For instance, wall splats. Some attacks will splat an opponent into a wall if that opponent is close enough to one, and that will allow you to combo into certain moves that otherwise would be impossible. But how you take advantage of these wall splats, as well as a few other mechanics, is going to be very character specific. And one of the great things about Kill la Kill If is the fact that every character is very distinct. Not only are the characters unique thanks to their different moveset, their running speed varies. Their behavior when sidestepping can be completely different. Even numbers wise, some characters have more health than others, and some do more or less damage. So this is going to do it for the very basics. These are the mechanics of Kill la Kill If. And if you feel like you understand this game better now that you've watched this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I highly appreciate it. Also, let me know in the comments which character seems the most attractive to you. Not in a pervert way, you perverts, but as far as gameplay goes. I look forward to reading your comments. But as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.